There's just more talk about whatever you're doing, really, in there. I mean, it's like, oh, look how good he's handling it, or look how bad he's handling it. And there's no sort of middle line. There's no threading it somewhere in between that. It's kind of like there's always going to be, it's not interesting unless it's one or the other, really.
Yeah, and when you win one, it's like, nah, we don't want you to win anymore. Go everyone else.
But they're stoked when you're losing too, because they're like, yeah, world champ's going down.
But that's the nature. I think that's the nature of competition, you know, because you're always like, we're all in it for ourselves on some level, right? So on most levels, you know, it's like, I want to win every heat I surf in, right? And then the guy you're battling with or whatever, you want that guy to lose, and it makes it easier for you. Yeah. So there's like this. I think it's just an instinctual thing, you know. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think the best battle is always when both guys do really well, or a bunch of guys are doing really well, and then it all washes out in the end. But that you can't help but hold a voodoo doll a few times in your life.
Oh yeah, that's probably the biggest learning curve that we all go through. Is like, it is so like emotionally tied to, like, you know, you doing good and someone else. And I know I've looked at Mick a lot, and I've like kind of gotten better with like being stoked for other people, because it's hard to do, you know. But I think if you can figure that one out, it's definitely gets the longevity of it, you know. Everyone goes through it, you know.
At Bell's, when I lost to Raoni, I was stoked for Raoni, and I got home and a couple of people said to me, "Oh, you had a shocker at Bell's," and I was like, I got like a 9 and a 10 in my heat, and the guy got, you know, he got 19.1, I got 19 point whatever, 0 or whatever, and I lost. I come back and
that's a shocker for you. I've seen you get a 10 and a 9.5.
And still
You're the only guy I've ever seen make Andy paddle to the beach.
And that one guy, I still hold that. I wish he was sitting here to say that to you.
Water would be flying right now. I knew you'd say something like that.
I remember it was like 7 minutes to go, and he paddled in. I'm like, that's the heaviest thing I've ever seen right there. Or 4 minutes ago.
I remember that. I was the heat after.
Yeah.
So good. You can't. That was what I'll always be happy with, for sure.
When you guys said something about like being happy for somebody, but then like being happy for someone, and then just like dealing with processing your own thing.
Yeah.
Like when you're, like last year at Pipe was really, it was hard because I was like watching. I could see how much Josh wanted to beat me, because how much he wanted you to win the title, and then when he beat me, like it stung that much more, because he literally paddled in, didn't tell me like, hey, you know, he didn't shake my hand or anything.
Yeah.
He paddled in, and he was just like looking at Parker the whole time, like around the beach to him, and I'm like, at least fucking shake my hand here, dude. Come on, you just fucking put me out. What's up?
You know, I definitely can relate to that, because, you know, Parker beat me in the quarters and then beat Damo in the semis, and like we wanted Joel to win so bad, but we're like, you know, I was like,
that's some heavy Florida stuff
and
right there.
no, I wanted Joel to win. I wanted, you know, and Damo came in, he's like, fuck. I'm like, that's the way it was supposed to work, man.
Yeah.
I was just like, you know, and it wasn't like, it was selfish for me, because I was like, I want one of us to win a Pipe Master, have a chance one of these years, you know?
It always comes, when it comes down to Pipe, there's always those weird, there's always those heats though, where it's going to be like good friends or like enemies, like have heats, that kind of thing, you know?
Well, you got someone that could have potentially achieved his lifelong goal, and then you're trying to achieve, someone else trying to achieve their lifelong goal, and you've seen the work and all the stuff they did, and it's like, it is like...
And then you got all the history throughout the year. You add that in.
Yeah.
Totally.
No, I mean, like, because it was hard for me, because I was stoked for Parker to win. You know, I was stoked that you won a title, but at the same time, like, I wish I wasn't involved to be stoked for you, you know? So
you were where I was on the beach, drinking beers.
Yeah, I thought that.
But yeah, you know, Kersey didn't mean any harm, but it was just the reality of it.
I know
was
Kersey's
just like
my buddy, you know.
The reality of it was just like, this is what happened.
He definitely was more stoked for him than he was bummed for me.
Yeah.
And so like that just adds to like, you're like, damn it. Yeah. I think Andy just threw at that period of time, like through the 90s, like most of us on tour were like all like really good friends, and it was like about the competition, not about like this, like there wasn't any real big rivalries of like people hating each other and all that kind of stuff. And then Andy kind of just threw a wrench in the works, you know. He just like came in and went, fuck that. That's not how the shit goes, you know. And he had no apologies about it.
It was so entertaining to watch.
And you know, he would
so entertaining.
He would apologize. He would apologize later on, like personally, like, oh fuck, sorry, I got out of hand or whatever. But like, in the heat of the battle, he never would back down for a second. You know, he was unapologetic and in your face and fuck you all the time. And you're just like, you either gotta like go hide or throw it back. You know.
I think that's why everyone admired him too, you know.
Yeah.
Wore his heart on his sleeve, and you knew exactly what he was thinking.
Yeah.
At that time, and
Especially his like all of us, like his peers for sure. Maybe fans could take him or leave him, I guess, but all of us, you know, he definitely. We loved all loved the way he approached, you know, especially you, I guess, and all the rivalries.
Well, it changed you too, like that one year, you know, when you guys were just going so at it. It was just, or even a couple of years, you know, you'd tell that you really took that personally with each other, and it just, yeah, it was sort of like you're either in one camp or the other. That's what it sort of
There's
felt
so
like.
much respect, but they still, you guys are still just, it was fun to watch, man. Hey, you know what, I remember I was in Fiji one year, and I kind of just got on tour, maybe my second year on tour or something, and I remember I was watching Andy just demolish people, you know, and he was in the final, and he had just beat Corey, comboed him in the final, you know, and I looked over at Pat, because I knew Pat O'Connell had been on the tour with you most of the time. I looked over him, and it was the most honest question. I was like, did Kelly win like this? Did he win with this much dominating fools this hard? Because it was just this one year where he just went crazy, you know? And I don't even know, was that the year you took off? You might have taken off one of these years, or no?
I think he won. His first year he won was the first year I got back on.
Okay,
02.
and you were kind of like just, you know, pretty much having a shocker that year. And I just remember, and I remember Pat saying, you know, I was like, I don't remember Kelly being this dominant winning, you know. I don't know if you could even speak into that or not, or anyone can, but I don't know, I didn't know. I was just like, wow, Andy's just demoing people, you know. And that whole contest and Cloudbreak, I mean, kind of what you do out there, but, you know. I don't know if that really. I don't know. It's just a moment that I remember.
Added ruthfulness to winning, like it
Yeah,
was like,
maybe that's a good point.
it's not over until it's actually over.
He won a lot of heats coming from behind too.
Yeah.
Like a lot of heats.
There's a lot of heats I saw where he'd be trailing. I'm like, yeah, he's going down, and then all of a sudden he's bang, bang. It's like, fuck, he's back in. He just won. He smashed that thing.
Or how
He
was
did
that
in
event in
France.
Chile that one year? He
Yeah.
comboed every single person and came in and just.
Were you in that final with him? Or
No, I
semi
lost
or
in the semi. Yeah.
To him?
Yeah.
Who made that final?
Damo got
Damo.
smoked, yeah.
He hit the reef.
It didn't matter what you did. He freaking didn't matter what anyone did. He just demoed everyone.
Hey, no, I was thinking about the other day. Remember, remember the year at the Red Bull house when you came over? You were staying there downstairs. Bruce was upstairs, and we were about to go play golf. And I remember I was laying on the couch. I was reading the Surf Make, and I might have lain on the floor. And you came in. Remember that time? Yeah. And I was kind of looked up, was like, okay, Kelly's here again. And then I looked, and Andy had the steam in the kitchen. Remember that? He was just like, that was it.
That was just such a classic case of like basic misunderstanding.
so misunderstood. And even I didn't even pay attention to it when you walked in. I was
literally,
like,
because I didn't know Andy was staying there, and I was riding for Boost at the time, and there's a guy named Damien who worked for Boost, and I was trying to find Damien. It's like I saw somebody. I'm like, you know where Damien's staying? Oh, he's staying in that house over there. Go to the house. Do you know where Damien's staying? And then I think they might even had the wrong. They thought I was asking for a different Damien. And they're like, yeah, he's in that house right there. So I walked in. And I'm like, oh, Damien here? And Andy's like, no fucking Damien here. Like, you know, and he's like, what are you doing here? And I was like, I was going to play golf too. I was like on the way to go play golf. Yeah, and I just stopped in for a sec, and it was like all of a sudden it was like, is this weird? Like, what just happened here? And I was like,
What just happened?
Everyone said that look. It was during pipe, and
you
so
were on the couch.
I was on the couch.
You were on the couch. I was on the floor, and we were all going somewhere. I remember I was like,
Andy was 100% convinced I did that to fuck with him. Yeah. He was totally convinced I came over there to mess with him somehow.
But the other thing was that Sherman was right there.
Yeah.
Like
Sherman took a photo.
Sherman was there 5 minutes before it all happened.
Yeah.
So It was like we were sort of like sitting there and like we were just talking on the couch.
Wait, so Sherm walked in right before me?
Yeah.
Oh, so did
So it
Andy
just
then
made
think it
it
was like
all-
set up?
I don't know. I don't
See,
think
I
it
never
was
knew. I
set
just
up,
thought
but-
Sherm was hanging out there or something.
And we were just sitting on the couch just talking, and Andy was in the kitchen cooking, and then you just walked in, and everyone sort of looked up, like everyone was walking in like all the time through that house, and we looked up and saw it was you, and it was like, oh, this is weird. And then no one would talk, and it just went dead quiet. And then, you're like, oh, is Damien here? And he's like, no fucking Damien here. And like, you walked out, and then it just like, the whole house just sort of like, we all just sat there and looked at each other on the couch, and we're just like, what just happened there? And then Andy just
stormed to his room.
Yeah, just
and I was like, whoa.
But yeah, it made it almost worse because Sherman just walked in like 5 minutes beforehand.
Sherman took a photo, right?
Yeah, he snapped a shot.
Through the fly screen or something.
Something, yeah.
No, he was at the end of the bench.
Yeah, he was right there,
Yeah.
like, in the room. But he just went like, snap, whatever. But,
I remember that. That was so funny.
yeah, he definitely wasn't always right, but he was always honest. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
He's like, this is how I feel, and this is the way it is. Like, were you guys on that boat in Fiji? Were you with us in Fiji the night me and Andy got in a fight? And like, my dad had died like 2 weeks before, and so I was just like out of my mind. And then we all went out and got drunk, and we're riding the boat back out at like midnight, and we're all having this wrestle in this taxi, and then we got on the boat, and we're all jumping off the boat. Yeah, we're all like in the middle of the channel, halfway between the main island and Tavro. We're jumping out of the boat at like midnight or whatever, and then the boat driver was like, I forget who was driving the boat, but he's like, nobody jump out of this boat again. Like, the Fijians never get mad, and then all of a sudden it like turned real kind of sour, and then Andy and I we just got in this thing, and he started making fun of me for losing my hair, and then I'm like, you think you're the man 'cause you won a couple contests, and we go back and forth. Next thing you know, like, we're fighting, and Shano's like pulling him off of me, and then 10 minutes after that, he's crying and hugging me and apologizing, and that was just the way he would just be. He would just feel something and act on it, and then he'd feel something else and act on that, and you're just like, all right, well, I got the whole thing, and usually at the end of it, you knew he loved you, but. He wasn't gonna let you get away with anything.
I think the biggest thing is we talked a lot about turning it off and stuff. Dude, Andy did not have an off switch. You could catch him on like, of the rosiest of rosy days, and something would just be like, fuck that,
Yeah.
And it was just like it was so hard for him to turn it off.
Yeah.
He always remembered something, he was always thinking about like, this guy's trying to get into my head. This guy's trying to get up on me. This guy's trying to get into my space. This guy's trying to.
At Barra during that contest, like in a free surf, and then we paddle back out, and he's like, I did that, right? I was like, no, but I guess you got a reason. Oh, you had one before I got one, and you saw it, and I knew it. And I'm just like,
he couldn't had trouble turning off, but he would bring it to even a.
He was just so competitive
Yeah.
in every aspect.
That's what made him so good, man.
Yeah, but even things that he wasn't even good at, he was trying to be
He
competitive.
was internalizing it. Like,
he was at golf. I remember we were golfing in Fiji one time, and him and Freddie went off and played ahead of us, and they were really kind of competitive at their level, and you could just see they were like having a battle. Like, didn't matter if we're great, we're at the same level, and we're gonna battle.
It's on.
And it was on.
Andy was like, there's a lot of guys a lot of surfers that are good surfers and they're good at everything, I always remember Andy was like so good at surfing. For the most part, he was pretty dysfunctional a lot of other things, whenever you picked up another sport and you're like, let's go do this.
Well, he would like kind of make fun of himself because Lindy was better at golf than him, and he was like, it would kind of pissed him off, but at the same time, he's like, she's better than me.
She's better at tennis than mostly everything pretty much.
But the rolls he would get on, like the one year I almost won the title in, I think, 2005 in France. And then I lost to your brother. Remember, I lost that heat to your brother, and then Andy just went bang, bang, bang. Like he almost lost to Maz Quinn, I think it was.
Oh yeah, that afternoon.
It was arguable, like a lot of people were like, oh, Andy lost that heat, and then he barely snuck through that heat, and then he just went on a tear, and he won that contest. He won, like, as soon as I lost, I just knew he was going to win that contest so easily because he would just, you could see he clicked in and there was zero chance anyone was taking him off that track. He was like, no one could touch him after that. Waves it went from like barreling to like choppy onshore and like high tide and just the conditions completely changed and he just was owning it. Like he never made a bad decision from that moment, you know?
Even those 3 years that he did win the world title, you know, like we talk about the different pressures of the year after. For him, it didn't seem like it.
No, that is a good point.
Yeah.
He's just like walking around. It's like there's a target on my back. There's a target on my back. You know, like it wasn't like I'm winning another world title or this or that. It was like there's a target on my back. People are coming for me. But he always thought that.
Yeah.
He always thought people were, you know. So
Kept him sharp though, you know? Just like, he's like, I know they're after me. I gotta step it up.
yeah, exactly. He was thinking that anyways.
One of the craziest things is everyone with like coaches nowadays and stuff. I was thinking, imagine trying to have coaches even 10 years ago or more. Can you imagine if I tried to coach someone like Andy? Like imagine, how would you, that's
Well,
like
Brock
raw.
coached Andy. Brock traveled with Andy and kind of tried to
Coached
coach
him.
him. Yeah, but Brock basically said like his method of coaching was
So
to
different
tell
to
Andy
him.
not to try. He would tell him, he
I
would just
know.
do the opposite. He would just go like, he said he was somewhere and Andy's like, fuck, I don't want to fucking be here. I want to go home. And Brock goes, well, go lose your heat and we can go. And he's like, really? He's like, yeah, just go lose. We'll get out of here.
Yeah,
He said, he said Andy just went out and just smashed it and won the event. Coaching for surfing, I think it's like, I almost think it's a little silly to think that a coach is going to teach you how to surf better. Like some guys get coaches to surf better, but I think it's stupid because you're not going to, like if you're at the top, you're not going to find someone who surfs better than you to coach you. So like you should know, like I think about that with golfers too, like with Tiger and all these guys, they all have these swing coaches. I'm like, you're way better than that guy. You're listening to that guy? Yeah. So like, I think a good coach is someone who can pull the mental, emotional side out of you. That can like, you know, like what Brock did with Andy. It was like, you just give them a little tidbit of information, they use what they know. You know what I mean?
exactly.
That's the secret
Just
to,
to
I think, to
fire
a
them up
good
a
coach.
little.
Like I look at the coach like as almost a sounding board. You know, like you do it with Belly.
Yeah.
You know, he's almost
Phil,
the coach.
Phil didn't say much to you.
No, but
he's almost like, he almost gives you a look. Like, and you're like, okay, this one.
Yeah. No, I guess
Belly,
that's
like
where
Belly never tells me what to do. Is that, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and I
but
don't think
it's-
Phil tells you what to do.
No, you sit there and you just bounce ideas off. Like, what do you think of this, or what do you think of that? Maybe that turn there or that turn there, and then like, I don't know. Sometimes you get, like, say you're surfing snapper for 5 days straight, and you're doing exactly the same turn. It's like, well, maybe try this up or try that up. Or, you know, just applying different things. That's how I look at coaches. They should be like a good sounding board and, you know, throw ideas at you, but you still got to change it around and do it your own way. Like I think a coach that comes in and says, okay, go do this, and if that doesn't work, then you're done. You know,
Well,
I think that's
some
just,
sports could create a lot of like robots, you know, like tennis, where the
Yeah.
coach is like, your stroke has to be exactly like this, you know, and there's certain sports you can just repeat the same thing over and over and over and over and over again so many times, and like in surfing you can't sort of, you know, except for you live at Snapper, so you can do that because you got hundreds of yards of wave, but you know, like in Florida, you're not going to repeat anything. You're going to take off on a 3-second long wave and do one maneuver. But so I think surfing, it's hard to. There's so many different approaches and lines and angles and stuff that it's hard to get stuck in doing that one thing too often.
yeah, and also too, like, we're sort of, like, even when we're all surfing together, we're all coaching each other anyway. You know, like you have a look at, you know, look at you, how you draw a line, then look at you, how you draw a line, then you draw a line. It's sort of like, all right, I sort of like that one, add that one, and you're sort of doing it anyway. And then, like, you know, when you're just free surfing and I got this one, I should have done this or I should have done that. That's coaching in a way as well, you know.
And you're learning from guys. I think like Karamas, I had a really tough time figuring Karamas out, and I felt like I figured it out right when I lost. Like around that time, I started to figure out, oh gosh, I'm taking this wrong angle. I kept coming off the bottom at a line that wouldn't let me utilize the wave right. And I felt like it took, because in the free surfs, it was like you get so few waves because so many guys and there's, only X number of waves. And so I felt like I really learned by watching other people for sure.
Yeah.
Like
I found that wave tricky too.
I learned.
What do you mean?
You ever hit I won? I just got barreled and came in.
I think everyone found the wave pretty tricky.
Hey, I learned how
actually
much that
surf
wave
that way.
changes. I went for a free surf one day. I'm like, I'm gonna free surf out here all day. It probably changed 50 times in like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Like,
how do you have any
It
knowledge?
was. It's a perfect wave, right? It
I
does the
surfed it
same
by
thing.
myself
Everything.
for like a week last year, and I still didn't get the wave figured out.
It changes so much
Yeah.
and so quick. It's just like.
And then all of a
that
sudden,
wild
it's
card
like
there.
2 foot smaller.
Yeah.
For
And
like,
mushier.
Every set's like 2 foot smaller. You're like, what happened?
Yeah, that was your eats. I was
your eats.
feeling for you. Well, that's probably a big point in like, succeeding would be like, those days where you're sitting there and you're watching great waves and then your heat comes up and you still got to get up to it, even though it sucks out there. A lot of people, can be deflated, Felt like Jordy kind of ran up against that where he watched these great waves and he was almost deflated when he went out there.
Well, that's another example of, I think, winning world title and that pressure and stuff. I think Jordy went into that contest probably with a lot of pressure because everyone's like, Jordy's going to be the man at this contest. I think everyone had this idea of what Jordy was going to do, and I think he probably caught wind of that, and I just, like, I know I had it in my head, Jordy's going to smash this contest.
Yeah, me
like
too.
that wave's going to suit
I always
him.
thought it'd be Geordie and Taj because I know Taj has spent more time
Taj
at that
too.
wave.
Yeah.
I thought he was the guy to beat for sure.
And
too.
it's funny, like I talked about this with Nick Carroll recently too, about like that hometown pressure too, like Thiago in Portugal, Michelle in Tahiti. Like you guys have probably, you've had a lot of success on Snap or whatever, but there's always that pressure.
always
and
do
you
get in
either
Florida.
rise to it or yeah. Yeah, you guys are lucky there's no Florida contest.
Kill it!
But there's like, it either can make you or break you kind of thing at certain times based on how that pressure comes at you and how you deal with it.
I've definitely been on both sides of that.
Yeah.
Where, you have the whole town on your back, and you're like, when we first got on tour and Joel won and then Dingo won, I was like, oh cool, okay, it's my turn. I got last.
But
But
I find it's harder the first few, like say round 1, 2 or 3, 4, that kind of, once you get to start getting on with quarters and stuff, you're like,
You mean at your home break?
I didn't have a shocker, I'm round before quarters.
Play with house money right now. Let's do this.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas you could easily just bomb out early and that.
Yeah,
you-
there's a lot to be said for getting to a place where you get the pressure off of you, when it's all, that first contest of the year, just coming in, being the world champ or something at that first contest, there's like all eyes are on you, especially this year must have been interesting for you because win your first title and then the first
definitely
contest is in your
was.
backyard and all the press, all the media, all the hype, all the, so it's, you got to try to separate from that.
Yeah.
You got to try to tune that out.
It did. I remember getting to Bells and just like, it was like a weight off my shoulders. Got
Finally
to Bells
gonna leave
and
me
I was
alone,
like,
maybe.
It was like, finally we're going to start, the year's going to start,
Mm.
and Bells, I always feel so relaxed at Bells. I feel so much more, it's a rip curl
I've
event.
sort of noticed that. It's weird.
Bells feels, it feels like the pressure all swings to you straight away. That's what I say.
Mix that pressure in the first two events. You got hometown and then a sponsor.
And then a sponsor event.
Well, if I do well in the first 2 events, then watch out.
It should be easy for that.
No one's going to argue against whether Dane's the best or one of the best surfers in the world or ever. But if he's not interested in competition more so than one event once in a while, I think that's legitimate enough. Like there's certain events he wants to surf, like Trestles, France, the Gold Coast. I think if he comes to those events and brings everything he has, that's legitimate enough. And I think if he's only there half-heartedly, then it's sort of illegitimate. It's kind of like, well, he didn't want to win that heat, or he didn't care about that title, or he didn't. It's almost like don't make a fool of the thing, a mockery.
He would get, and in today, I think, he would probably burn so quick. The tour could ruin him. How if he had, he'd probably, when you see him surf, like he might go 3 or 4 ways where he has a shocker, and then he'll do something that's so out of this world, and that you can't surf heats like that. You'd go and do that at
Well,
trestles.
if you get somebody against him who just goes and kind of standard surfs 2 waves really well.
Yeah, they
right?
still
they get a
will
couple
lose.
7.5s or something.
Yeah, he'll beat most guys for sure.
But then let's say Dane just surfs like a bad heat and he gets, like you said, he has a bunch of shockers, a bunch of 3s, and all of a sudden he does something crazy and gets a 9.5, and then he loses the heat.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen. Where
He did it at Snapper.
Yeah, he'll lose the heat, but he'll do something so crazy that everyone's like, well, he should win. Well, but then what? So do we just hand it to him?
Yeah, we change the whole criteria.
Did you change the whole criteria for that one? Is it a one move heat now? Is it a whole? Is it one wave? Is it 2 waves? What's it going to be? Is it best maneuver?
That last year he was on tour, he wasn't stoked.
No,
and
he didn't look happy.
You don't want someone like that on tour.
I think it's cool that there's the outlet that he can, make films, be completely on his own terms. I think it's pretty cool that he has that ability, and no one up until now with media and stuff, no one could really just do that. Now that he has his own site and he puts out crazy videos, and it allows him to have that outlet that basically no one's had prior to that.
But it almost relates back to you, like back during, like after '96 until you came back on tour. You're still doing events. Yeah. And did you feel the same way? You want to do a couple of events, but you didn't want to do the whole tour.
Yeah.
And were people saying that to you?
I feel like I was almost getting a little bit of that from people on tour, not so much like people outside, but I definitely kind of.
Well, you wouldn't know if you're in the contest or not till 2 months later, anyway. Back then.
Yeah, exactly. But I sort of had my cake and was eating it too. I was able to go do a lot of free surfing, travel, trips, get home as much as I wanted. Just have personal time, and then I got to surf 3 or 4 events a year. I was getting 3 or 4 wild cards, which was, I was stoked on. I got into bells and I got into pipe, and if I couldn't be in those events, it would have probably been kind of tearing me up a little bit, because certain events I really wanted to surf. And
but if they did take those waves of it, they did take that away.
If I couldn't get in pipe, if I had to surf on tour to get in pipe, I probably would have gotten back on tour just for that, because I wanted to surf pipe so bad.
He'll probably eventually win one of the contests he enters, and wonder if that'll spur him on to maybe.
We thought that was gonna be France.
Yeah.
You were like,
So did
he's
I.
great, dude.
I don't think he would get off on I won a contest. Yeah, I want that feeling again. I think he would just be like.
I think the point
That
would
was
be,
cool.
would be
I did
taking
something
it away, like you said. If they wouldn't let me in pipe, I might have just, you know what I'm saying?
Maybe.
Almost
I'm sure every one of us here, if we got to select a few events and not go to other events and
Which
do
ones,
that.
Mick?
Snapper. But you would,
That's
everyone
such a
would take
cop-out
that.
right there.
Everyone would take that opportunity.
I've taken that opportunity a couple times.
Yeah, we all have, but it's like, if you go, okay, I'm only going to do 5 events and still stay on tour. I'm sure everyone here would do it, But, we're sort of in that we want to chase down world titles or whatever, so we stay on tour. We go through those places where we're not really psyched on, or if you're not feeling it, then you still go, and it's a different sort of
What
realm.
if the tour said, yeah, you know what, you can surf only 5 events next year and see if you want to requalify? And then what if you won the first 2?
Well, you pretty much did that on the tyrant.
Exactly.
No, but then they all know you can only surf 5 next year.
Well, that's, you know what?
You had to make it. Yeah, you gotta call it.
I got a question. What if Dane showed up next year and he's like, I'm doing the tour, and you got this completely different Dane where he was finishing waves, doing this, you never saw that, you never saw video
He would
throughout
get a wild card. I think he would
But
get
you
a
never
wild
saw
card.
video throughout the whole year or anything. Could you sit there and go, that's what I asked for, and that's what I'm getting? Now are you going, Dane, dude, I don't want you to do that. I want you to do videos, so it's.
Oh yeah, it's a double-edged sword.
I don't know. I'm probably not super aware of all the things I've given up to do what I do. I don't feel like I've given up anything really. I think this is what I wanted to do, and so there was no other option that I feel like I missed.
Yeah, I think it does put when you focus so much on one thing, it does definitely put a strain on your relationships. You know, for me, it was, doing that 2007 year I was just like, just one line and that was it. And then, like, at that time, Krista and I were engaged, and it was just, there was a lot of sort of pressure there. She wanted to support me, but then when I come home, I wasn't really in the room. I was always thinking about something else, and it was definitely something that I had to, once it was done, I really...
She had to slap you.
Yeah, pretty much. She hurts. Domestic violence. But it was definitely something that I had to really work on, like, in the following years, just so you don't become too selfish. Like, it's a job. Like, you sort of look at it as CJ said, it's a job, but you still got to come home and be in the room and still be a human.
How much better was I because I was unavailable the whole time?
Yeah,
Literally.
exactly.
I get that from Kalani all the time. Like, hey, you're super. You're not there, are you?
Yeah.
I'm like, go away. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
You do miss a lot of, good friends' weddings and also, different occasions that they want you there for, and
kids' first days of school, and all that kind of stuff. Like, I'm going to Fiji. I ended up missing the birth of Steven's kid, and it was like I wanted to be home so bad. I pushed it as far as I could. Even I thought I could get there for the first round, but then I missed that. But that's all right. Parko did too. He was there. Too soon?
For sure.
I didn't even know it was going to be on that morning. I was there.
I was always going to make the sacrifice of missing my son being born and go to Portugal in 2010, but fate just I cut my foot off anyway, and so I ended up being home, and it was the best thing. I couldn't, even though I look back today thinking that I was almost going to make that decision, and it would have eaten me up for life. Knowing that I would have had a chance of doing that.
Wow.
I was only going to do it if I was like right, in contention, everything was going well.
Yeah.
And because I was doing all right till it was early, it was not even halfway through the year. So I was I was doing good, and then I was like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it. I'm going to absolutely do it 100%, and then it all went pear-shaped anyway. But I'm so glad that ended up happening, and I never had to make that. That would have been probably the hardest sacrifice. But other than that, I got 3 beautiful kids and happily married, and I haven't really had to make too many sacrifices, thank God.
Yeah.
I think the thing is just
your guys' thing seems to flow pretty easy.
It's good. It works well. My kids get to travel.
it's a lot of work, though.
It's a lot of work,
bro.
Yeah. It's a lot of juggling, but yeah.
I think the biggest thing is just like every time we go, dude, surfing's giving me so much. I mean, rarely do you do the time where you just go, I miss my buddies, like Mako Sam's probably the best point, I miss my buddies' engagement party or, so it's like those times, and then everything else is just like, dude, look how much surfing's giving me, it's
more money, more problems.
Exactly. It seems like people really wanted me to win one, and now they really want me to lose one, kind of thing, I guess.
Who wants to see it? Come on.
No, I guess, but personally, I don't really care what other people think. It's more for me, it was something that I had to, it was just eluding me, I did not want to be a Shane Horan further as it went along.
Whoa.
Come on.
Whoa.
I mean, Shane Horan's a great guy, and I love Shane. But I just
I'm sure after this time he knows how close he was so many times.
Yes, so many times. And
I wonder. I've never talked to Shane about that, and I wonder.
I saw him in the water just the other day, and I was talking to him, and I was, I never would say it, but I was just thinking, Shane, like. He was so pumped.
You just said it, though.
Yeah, he was so pumped for me, and I would have loved to have gone to him too. Personally, there's nothing it hasn't created problems. It's created a lot more work. You probably know that.
Yeah, it's definitely one thing. Yeah, like it doesn't really solve any problems.
No, it doesn't.
No, I think it's like people look at it. It's like, it's a world title. Everything's amazing now, and it's like, well, you still got to go home. You still got to be a husband. You still got to be a dad or whatever. they don't care. And it's like you're still the same person to them, and it's like all it is that you've got to talk to more people and do more.
Bottom line is, I guess you achieved the goal that you set.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess, it's a box that you tick and you don't put a cross next to
Yeah,
it.
like a lifelong goal. It's that self-approval.
I don't think it's really anything you solve or create. It's just like you just keep doing what you're doing, but you know, like when you're 80 in the rocking chair, it's gonna be easier, you know,
Yeah, exactly,
or whatever.
when
So
you're
it's
80.
always just like
Yeah.
in the back of your mind where it's just like, you know, it'll be better. You know, I don't know, Kelly, you probably speaking to that is probably like, did you just go when I am done with it? Is it just gonna be easier that you just went like, wow, I did achieve that, or like right now in your career, is it just like a fun thing, or is it just like I still want to check that one because I know I'll be easier to live with myself down the road? I don't know, does that make sense?
No, I think that's only in the moment. Like, you know, if I think at any time, if you don't do the things that are true to you, you could look back on that and say, like, I should have done that. I could have done that. Everyone probably has some of those, but you know, I figure at any moment you have only the options you have and the choices you have, and you make the best ones you know of. And I think when you're done, you got to just say, I did the best I could. You know, and whether you won or lost, I don't think that ends up mattering. I mean, if you achieve something you set out to achieve, then yeah, you can pat yourself on the back later on and be happy for it. But you know, that's just, if you don't, then you know, what are you going to do? I think if you ask anyone is it easier to win a title now, I literally think it's exactly the same, probably, relative to those times. There's always a few guys, it seems, that are in the running, and they're always going to be on competitive levels. And although I think that obviously the level's never going to go down, the level's going up. I don't think it's harder necessarily. I mean, you have to be a better surfer nowadays, but I don't think it's harder, because I think that level has always been competitive between top guys, no matter if it was Shane and MR and Sean Thompson, those guys.
Do you reckon it was more ruthless back then, though?
There was kind of more, it was a little more ruthless. In that way, you could actually make an argument that it was harder then, because, you know, there's
more factors outside of your control.
Factors, yeah.
Yeah, they'll paddle like a paddle around the buoy and stuff.
Or there were actually even before the buoy stuff, I think, before they had
On the beach where they're kicking out.
Have you guys tried to hassle lately? I went to a QS and they're like, I tried to sit on this guy and I couldn't do it. He just kept getting waves from me and I'm like, I'm not doing this. But yeah, point being, like,
You lost your touch at that.
you don't know how to try to hassle guys. It's hard to do. I mean, you can do it in free surf when we're out of trestles, but if you like try to, it's like,
Yeah.
because you haven't done it in so long. I mean, but those are factors that are outside your control, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. You and Adriano, you got that little thing, man. You guys have little.
Dude, I'll hassle anyone, you know me.
Like it seems like the guys back in the day were just way gnarlier though. Like,
Rabbit told me this great story where him and Dane made the final at Cronulla, and Dane paddled out. He thought the heat was going to start. He paddled out in the water. Rabbit went and got a massage.
No way.
Yeah, and so Dane comes in, and Rabbit's laying there. He's out in the water so long, he was frustrated, and he came in and he's just steaming. And Dane was like the scariest guy in the world. And no one messed with Dane. And he came in, and Rabbit's like literally sitting there getting a massage. And he said Dane just went crazy. He goes, right then I knew I won the heat. And, I mean, those guys were so ruthless back then. There's some story about somebody getting their board soap waxed at Bell's Beach before a final or a semi.
Oh, that's heavy.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
I think it was Rabbit though. It was probably his karma coming back to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was you know now I guess we've got it pasteurized down. There's more rules and there's more boundaries, guidelines, you know, with the way priority is, and that, even in the 3-man and all that. So it's I mean, the idea behind it is not to make it easy for anyone. The idea behind that is just to let the surfing speak, right? So it's
take all the bullshit out of it, all the.
Well, I think that's why it's sort of more gentlemanly too on the beach. It's like you sort of can't really hassle And it's
Start of
like,
a heat, end of a heat. You sit on the guy. I still feel bad for doing that, sitting on a guy on the end of a heat.
you're a prick, but
It's hard now to relate back to then, you know, the first 6 or 8 years, 10 years I was on tour, there was no webcast. There was no such thing, you know? And there wasn't, I think there's always the good and the bad. Like with all that media and stuff comes the criticism, and somebody should have won, somebody should have got scores at that, whatever. But like the idea that we can watch everything live, like for free on our computers, is pretty sick.
It doesn't really, I guess it doesn't really change the way you surf the heat. You always want to win the heat.
Yeah,
no,
it's
I don't
never
think it changes at all.
Pretty,
I think you just get more. You've got more people instantly getting in contact with you if you win or lose, and giving you their thoughts. And I think that's probably
everyone's
the
got an
only
opinion,
difference.
everyone's a judge all of a sudden.
I just think it's cool that, like, and Kelly, you probably like won events back in the day and had to call home, and they were like, "Oh, how'd you do? You know?"
I always had a thing where if I ever won a contest, I call my mom straight away. I won.
Yeah.
It was like this kind of funny thing to me and my mom, but
You had
they
a
wouldn't
long
know
phone
it.
bill, huh?
Huh?
You would have had a big phone bill back in the day.
I always remember I don't know what year it was, but I got a first QS win, and I called my mom. She's like, "How'd you do, honey?" I was like, "I won." She's like, "No way, cool." I was like, "Yeah, I got $8,000 in my pocket. I'm in the mall." You know, like I was in the mall solo because my flight didn't leave later on that night. But yeah, I mean, I really think nothing's changed except, you know, you don't make that phone call. Your mom and dad already know how you do.
Yeah.
That's probably the only thing that's changed.
You're getting texts, like you come in and you got a text, "Good luck, come
Yeah.
on, you're the final, one more to go," or something like that.
It seems like it's easier, but the stakes are so much higher as far as like if you mess up. Like before, you could go have a pretty big night, and you know now if you have a big night, you're like, "Fudge, I hope no one videoed that, or someone got some of that."
Why? What'd you do?
Well, you know, where's the camera at? I got a little confession. But you know, it's like it is easier for these groms or whatever. But the flip side,
Well, like
of it is,
immediately,
it's like
somebody
anything
could
they
film you
do.
doing something stupid because you got drunk one night, and it's on Instagram.
Yeah,
right then.
That's what I mean. So it is easier, but it's like the stakes are higher because people can just roast you.
Yeah, but that's anyone's life, you know.
I like how like when we were growing up, it was you'd wait every Christmas and get like the Taylor Steele video or the Lost video, and you'd play that thing to the death, and you'd always have to wait a year to get new content. Where now it's just it's so accessible, which it's.
Is that good or bad?
I don't think it's bad because I used to love that. Like, I guess the surfing content's been live all the times, like watching a surf video anyway. But remember how much we used to wear out Taylor Steele? Like, or you rewind, wait up,
You knew
T-Nox's
exactly.
sections of
Well, no, but
play.
way before that was Performers, the movie that Quicksilver did in like 1980 or 82. And it was Rabbit and Kong and Chappie Jennings and Bryce Ellis and
We wore out that
Yeah,
one too.
I remember that.
and Marvin
Mad Wax,
Foster,
all
and
that.
Mickey Nielsen, all these guys. And so like Richard Cram had a crazy section in that, doing these crazy cars at Haleiwa. And Alex Cox and I, when we were little kids, we'd watch that. We're like, okay, let's watch so-and-so section, and then we'll try to do those turns. And we'll watch so-and-so's, and we'll try to get barreled. And, you know, so it's almost like having that lack of information, sort of, you plant seeds, you know, you plant seeds that have a little more space to grow. Whereas when you get like every bit of information, like, oh, Dane did a rodeo a second ago at Strand, and we just watched it on Instagram, and then, you know, Jordy just did this over at that place, and Julian just did this, and you see all this stuff like immediate.
Yeah, I
It's
think
right there, and it's like it almost doesn't give it like room to grow and sprout, and like, you know.
Definitely one of the righteous ones was for, you know, Kelly and Andy going for that title. And
Yeah.
there's like, you were in the final, you and Macker were also out there?
Oh yeah, filling that.
Yeah.
Phil Mack, yeah.
Yeah. So, hey, there was a lot going on. I don't even know if I was even.
Well, Phil was trying to make top 5 or something. There was like all these weird little
there
scenarios.
was so much
Yeah.
stuff going on.
Well,
out
it
there.
happened like the week before, even at sunset. Like you were so far out in front going into sunset.
Sunset was a
Andy
CT,
was like,
wasn't it?
Oh, yeah,
If
Sunset.
that's right.
Sunset wasn't
right.
a CT, I would have won the title that year.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
Sunset
Andy
was a CT, and I had the worst possible stiffest, worst board I've ever
Dude,
had.
what's up with you at Sunset? What's
No,
the
I did
deal?
good there one year, dude. I got third. But no, I just had the worst board, and I was surfing
Joe like
against.
wins when he like
I was
barely
surfing
fouls.
against. I was surfing against Jake Patterson and Kalani Robb, and I forget.
Jake win?
Jake
the-
won that whole contest.
Yeah,
and
that's
Andy got
right. yeah,
second. Taj got third, I think. Or
Oh yeah, that was a
Maybe
great
even-
final.
I wasn't. I watched the final.
know.
Someone got a really good barrel.
waves are unbelievable. Jake got a 10 in that final or
waves.
something.
I think Noodles was like the fourth guy.
But I needed like a 4 to beat Kalani and get second in my heat and make it through. And I just couldn't get a 4. I just taken off and I had no confidence. I just got super nervous.
Big
I
old
did-
deep bottom turn. You're like,
No, it was terrible. I had a lot of weird stuff going on in my personal life too, and it was just like I was just so nervous, and I got to Hawaii with zero confidence. Just shot myself in the foot prior to even getting to Hawaii, and then I can blame whatever I want, but it just wasn't in the cards for me to be on. So.
But
Yeah.
that pipe contest, I don't
That
know about
was
you guys,
crazy.
but I enjoyed that.
I had to think
Yeah.
the Barrow to the Mexico one. Not that I didn't get a glassy heat. I never got good
Oh
waves.
no, seriously? I surfed the heat with Phil McDonald.
Hey, didn't catch a wave.
And I got a 9.5 on my first wave, and I got a 10, I think, on my second wave or something like that. And so he just went, I'm not catching a wave till it's a perfect wave. So he sat, and every set that would come, he would just go, well, that one's not good enough. He didn't catch a wave.
No
He
way.
didn't catch a
In
wave
those
for half
perfect
an hour.
waves.
He didn't catch a wave. And then at the end, he was like cussing and screaming in the water, and I had like 7 waves.
Wow.
And then Andy was in the next heat. I forget who he was surfing against, but the heat started, and I was still at the back. And they both caught waves straight away. And then, Andy caught a wave straight away, and I drifted down about 50 yards, and this wave came, and whoever was in his heat, it broke over them, and I was wide enough to get it. And I took off, and I just stood in this barrel. It was like, the thing was like ceiling high. It was like the most ridiculous wave I've ever caught. And I stood in the barrel, and I got a little too much speed, and I came out, and I had to kind of stall and pull back in. I pulled back in again, and same thing. It kind of shoved me out of the barrel, and I went to pull up in the barrel again, and Andy's paddling back out, and he tried to paddle into my line and make me fall. He's like screaming at me like, fucking did it!
You're my heat, get out of here.
It's so funny. And he like tried to paddle, so I had to actually go up high, and it made me kind of miss the last part of the barrel. And I was like, typical Andy, man. He's so mad I got that wave. Like he would have, 100% he would have been on that wave if he didn't catch his wave.
Yeah, and that was a 10.
And it was I got like 30 seconds of tube time on the wave.
Wow.
It was like,
Yeah, I
whatever.
never
He
got a
won the
heat.
contest anyways.
That
contest
That
was
was
one there,
ridiculous.
That
yeah.
wave of Taj's, that one the early morning.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And the one at Corey's.
Yeah.
Corey had one and Taj had one.
The Corey's one he was almost like
How's
facing the
where Taj
beach.
is at the bottom of that wave trying to do those pumps, and there's no curve.
No, it's
It was
bunny
just
hopping.
Flat
Yeah, it
bottom.
was like,
Yeah.
that was,
Nothing to
and
put
still,
very
you know
on.
what? That was the best sandbar of all time ever at Barra. Like, it's never been that good before or since. It's never even come close. I've been on there a couple times. It's just like, usually it breaks outside kind of barrels, and it's mushy for like 150 yards.
Yeah, cutbacks outside.
Yeah, and then it closed out in the shore break. But I can't believe how lucky we all got for that. And it ran the first 4 days.
That was.
There's only been like 2 or 3 events ever run the first 4 days, and that was probably the best south swell of all time too. Like biggest, most pure, consistent for days on end, set after set. G-Land, the first year at G-Land was pretty unbelievable. It's just such a fun place to have a contest, and to have no stress on the beach. You know, there's no people, no nothing. You just like nothing. There was
nothing around.
I think the first year we were joking that there was 4 fans there. One guy from Bali brought his boat with like 3 other people, and that was the only people that were like on the beach. But it was just so relaxed and fun. And
I remember the Billabong Pro too. Remember the one year I never forget. I think Jeremy Biles rode away before the morning of first heat, and he
Where
stood
at?
in the barrel at Kira.
Oh, Kira.
And
Chris got the 310s.
No.
96?
No. It was a QS then. It wasn't CT.
Oh, that was
Chris
the,
Brown. Remember Chris Brown? I was
It
like,
was
I
like
didn't know-
94.
94. I was
Yeah.
like maybe 13, sitting on the
Yeah.
point watching. I didn't go out because it was too gnarly. Potts won.
And Frosty
Maybe
made the final.
Yeah, Tommy Carroll got a 10 in
Yeah,
front of
a
the
no-hander?
hut. Yes.
Yeah.
I was 13 years old. I did not leave the point.
No,
Sat on the
me
rocks
neither.
just going. I watched every wave. And Tom Carroll stands out as like, it probably wasn't the best barrel of the day, but the way he rode it, backside, was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like no one was doing no hands.
No,
out
that
Kira
was the
on
first
back
no
end.
hand.
Yeah.
It was really the
So
first
sick.
time.
He's still in the same position.
Tom had a couple at Pipe back in the day too, at backdoor, just no-handers at backdoor, like big, giant backdoor caves and just
No one would have been
hand
going no hands back then, huh?
No, and most
That wasn't even
footers weren't
going right.
No one was
goofy
going.
footers weren't going right, and no one was going no hands. Tom was just standing in these things. Him and Marvin were the only guys who would go like no hands at backdoor.
That's sick.
But I don't know. You can't discount a number of pipe contests. I think wave-wise, that pipe contest 2000 when Rob won against Mick Lowe in the final.
Yeah, dude.
That was the one where
crazy.
Andy had that one wave and he dove to the top of the lip and went straight over in the lip.
Yeah,
Remember
yeah.
that?
He was his
Wipeout?
face in his head
That
was in the
was
thing. Yeah.
insane. I remember like starting to run down the beach like, oh my God, he's gonna be dead. Like somebody get that guy. It was like heaviest wipeout. And he just came straight up and paddled back out. He said he was only under for like a couple seconds. But
That contest was, man. Waves are just.
that was
flawless.
insane. Rob had a 10 in the final, I think.
Even the sun was in like a perfect position all day long. It was just like.
That was flawless pipe.